There are common themes, archetypes and experiences that occur regularly for those who voyage with the medicine plant ayahuasca, such as dying and or rebirth, going to or through hell or your own version of heaven, Mother Ayahuasca appearing in various forms, a blue lady, a brown lady, spirit guides, insects, plants, animals, ancestors, temples, deities, gods, prophets, father, mother, brother and sister figures, and people who have departed this plane or reality, and many more types and sorts. The archetype. In voyaging with medicine plants of all sorts, there is often comment and reference made about or in relation to archetypes. My understanding of the term archetype was not clear up to a point, so when others used the term, although it was possible to follow a conversation, a lot of the subtleties were lost on me. Not fully knowing or grasping what an archetype was led me to doing some research and finding out a certain amount. The archetype was a concept or idea created by a Swiss psychiatrist called Carl Gustav Jung. Jung's ideas are not readily discussed within academic circles to the extent that Sigmund Freud's work would be, as Jung tended to veer into mystical and spiritual realm. Nonetheless, quite ironically, this idea or concept of archetype seems to have stood the test of time despite the pseudoscientific label attached to Jung by modern psychology. Jung's contribution to psychology is understated, underrated and misunderstood by many academics with an exceedingly narrow field of view. My understanding of an archetype is now as follows. An archetype is a general or specific representation or an interpretation of experiences we may have or had on a sub- or superconscious level. To make sense of this statement, or to give it a context, consider watching a film called Contact. Carl Sagan, whom is a very interesting character in his own right, wrote a book called Contact, which the film Contact is based upon. There is a specific scene in the film Contact where Ellie, played by Jodie Foster, has just travelled through space and time via a suggested portal or wormhole and meets an entity who looks and sounds like her previously departed dead father. The entity or being is not her father per se, but is an archetypal representation of her father. When Ellie realises that the entity in front of her is not real, is not her father, and that they have downloaded her thoughts and memories, her dad, the entity, says, "We thought this might make things easier for you," meaning that Ellie's intellect, her conscious or egoic mind, would not be able to process what was going on a deeper level of mind, and therefore it was easier for her to interpret it via the use of or a projection of an archetypal father figure. Archetypes can help us interpret and make some sense of our experiences by putting them into or relating them to things we know or recognize, which kind of helps us to know the unknowable. The archetypes we encounter tend in the main to relate to the tradition or background we were brought up with or in. The mind is always seeking patterns and seeking to recognize even the stuff that is beyond the comprehension of the mind to recognize and to understand. When you voyage with entheogens, you begin to comprehend how limited the written or spoken word can be, although such a realization has never stopped me and others from writing or talking about this stuff. Having a conversation with someone about a voyage is better than writing about it, as both of you can feel the vibrational tone of the experience in each other's voices as you speak your relative truths. Having an archetype as a reference helps in these types of conversations to interpret the experience and convey meaning to yourself or to another. Your background, the way you were brought up, reared or raised, will potentially influence the types and forms of archetypes you may experience on a voyage. Someone from a Christian tradition may experience a Jesus-type archetype, whilst someone from a Muslim tradition could end up chatting to a Muhammad-like archetype. And similarly, someone from a Buddhist tradition may end up engaging with a Buddhist-style archetype, and so on and so forth. As a fairly succinct example, tarot cards use archetypal themes, characters, and imagery. A traditional or common tarot card set is split into two parts called the major arcana and the minor arcana. Every card in the major arcana is numbered and represents an archetypal figure of sorts. There are usually 22 cards represented in the major arcana. This is my summary interpretation of the major arcana archetypes as follows. The Fool can sometimes represent us as the naive yet happy child, journeyer or traveller through life, seeking to find and explore, to have adventures, experience excitement, and out for a fun time in general where possible. The Magician represents an accomplished and or highly skilled master who is in control of life and all it presents or has to offer. The magician has access, use and disposal of a variety of tools available to him or her, such as the symbols of the minor arcana, which are typically represented as the cup, the sword, the pentacle and the wand. The cup is typically understood to signify connection on the emotional level with yourself and to others. The sword is typically understood to signify action as opposed to emotion, in that the sword gets to the point and cuts through indecision, so to speak. It represents personal power and the ability to make decisions and then to act upon these decisions. The pentacle is typically understood to represent the material world in relation to possessions, career and or wealth. The wand is typically understood to represent life, purpose, passion, energy, motivation, and what is potentially beyond the immediate horizon or what's in store in the short term. Sometimes, depending on the context of the tarot card reading, wands may also represent spirituality. The High Priestess is the archetypal keeper and protector of spiritual secrets which can only be shared with the wise. The Empress is the mother figure who is there to protect, nurture and care for all her creations, which of course includes all people and all humankind. On a personal note, to me, Mother Ayahuasca represents the High Priestess, the Empress and the Strength, all rolled into one, 3 for the price of 1, as some might say. The Emperor is perceived to be a male, patriarchal or father figure that protects and provides and can also rule as an authoritarian when necessary. The Emperor is considered to be bringer of order from chaos to facilitate growth and prosperity. The Hierophant symbolizes authoritarianism in the form of being head of a cultural, religious or state convention that is determined to maintain order as he or she sees it, at all costs or by whatever means necessary. The Lovers are supposed to represent the idea of opposition and attraction, but are also suggestive of making choices between two desires, wants, needs or longings. The Chariot is synonymous with movement and or change in one's life, and depicts someone who is in control of their drives, be they physical, emotional or spiritual strength. This is a beautiful, gentle woman with the heart of a lion, who can unwaringly control nature's forces despite the fact that if she loses control, it could destroy her. The Hermit is considered primarily with spirituality and the enlightenment of those who truly seek wisdom, thus lives as a reclusive far removed from the world and its vices. The Wheel of Fortune. This is about the only thing in life that is certain, which is change. It spins for each of us, but we can each make a decision what choices to make when it stops. So, it's not necessarily fatalistic or deterministic. Or is it? Justice is a double-edged sword which cuts both ways. Justice is perceived as being feminine and balanced, and thus an ultimate lawmaker, arbiter, and enforcer. The hanged man is the archetypal martyr who willingly sacrifices himself for his righteous ideals, vision, or passion for something better in the future, albeit that future may be another life or incarnation. Death. The tarot card is often depicted or perceived as gloomy or foreboding, but it also signifies the start of something new, as fresh new life springs from the death of the old. Mother Nature does not distinguish one from the other. Life and death are just part of the cycle of nature. Temperance. This card is about the wholeness of a balanced and tempered approach to life, and in all things, moderation, elegance, and self-control are the key components, synonyms with the appearance of this card in any reading. The devil is part of all of us and can keep us limited and tied down in certain ways through acts of being selfish, self-centered, or self-serving without any consideration of the detriment to others. Although there are perceivable certain rewards in being all of the above, it limits true happiness and keeps us from our true path. Depending on the context, if this card comes up in a reading, it is a sign that you or I are like this, or it is a warning to avoid certain people who may be like this, selfish, self-centered, and or self-serving. The Tower signifies the release or venting of pent-up energy or emotion. All emotions emit energies via vibration, and when you block or stymie the energy, it builds up pressure, so can often be released as an explosion of sorts, especially in cause of passion, frustration, or anger, which can be quite a destructive force to you and to others within its blast radius. Energy needs to flow, so let it. The star represents a light, a way out of the darkness, offering the prospect of guidance towards hope, new prospects and beginnings. The moon is synonyms within the hidden depths of the subconscious or superconscious mind that awaits the brave and intrepid explorer to uncover the secrets buried within. The sun represents the conscious mind through clarity or action. The sun is thought to be the source of all life in this universe and thus provides for growth, warmth, and comfort. Judgment is associated with absolution through honesty and truth and the promise of a new and fresh start. The world reminds us of the spiral-like nature of all of life and its never-ending dance. This is not meant or intended to be a detailed or accurate interpretation of the major arcana of the tarot. It does provide a good overview as to what archetypes are and how they can be used to interpret certain experiences that may otherwise be lost to us. If you understood or comprehend in any general sense what is written above about each of the archetypes, then there is at least an essence of recognition that each of the archetypes is present in you and is present in most, if not all, people. In my own view, the tarot, through its archetypes, aims to represent many, if not all, potential facets of the persona or masks we wear. It also aims to stir up or agitate what we truly are, that which is hidden behind the mask of persona. There are many variants, sorts and types of tarot cards. You can even get a set of Voyager tarot cards, which ironically is very relevant to my own personal experience of my last voyage with Mother Ayahuasca and the final voyage denoted in this book.